1 year ago, I decided to become a full-time ultra distance athlete at the age of 57. That's right. This video is all about the highs and lows of that journey so far and what I've got planned for the future. Stay tuned. Okay, so first off, why did I decide to become a full-time athlete? Well, I was 57 years old last year, and my beautiful wife and I are living in Mexico, and we were talking about all sorts of things that we wanted to do, and I said to her, look, I don't feel as though my days of being a competitive athlete are over. I want to become a world champion. I'd fallen in love with the sport of ultra running again. I ran my first ultra marathon about 13 years ago. And I said to her, I want to give it a crack to becoming a world champion. But to do that, I need about 3 years of getting myself not only into shape, but also qualifying and becoming good enough to become a world champion at my age, which I'm going to be around about 60 by the time I do that. So we made a decision together for me to become a full-time athlete. And a lot of people might think that that's a crazy thing to do at this stage of life, and good on you for thinking that. We don't think that. We are a couple that want to live our dreams, and we don't see any barriers to that. We're not focused on money all the time. We're focused on experiences and making the best out of the life that we can. So that's one of the reasons we decided to do this. But look, I had a lot of work to do starting back in July of last year. The first thing that really struck me was how difficult it was to get started. I was really super motivated, but I was really overweight. I'd just come off an injury. I had an ACL injury in my left knee, which I did when I was in Australia. So that was kind of a little bit of nervousness around that process, I guess you could say, because I didn't know what was going to happen with that. As I said, I was overweight, I was eating poorly, and it's the middle of summer in Cancun here in Mexico, so it was extremely hot to go running and everything. And I remember the first times that I went running, it was just excruciatingly painful. It was like, when you go out and you just feel after the first 10 seconds that this is going to be a really bad run. That's what happened to me a lot, but I stuck at it, and I was determined. Once I set my mind to something, I go after it 110%. So that's what happened. I got stuck into it. And slowly but surely, I was able to start running a little bit further. The weight started coming off, and I started feeling better and better. So when those things happen in your life, you tend to want to chase that feeling a little bit more. And sometimes people use bad addictions to get that feeling. But I wanted to use a positive, good feeling around healthy lifestyle and chasing my dreams. So July, August, September, I started just focusing on losing weight and starting to get fit, and that came fairly easy. Actually, I was a bit surprised how easy that came. So the first 3 months I was just focused on running and doing some core exercises. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was looking at a lot of YouTube videos and all the rest of it. And then I reached out to a guy on LinkedIn. His name's Stephen Bonthron, and he lives in Perth in Scotland, Bonnie, Scotland. And I said to Stephen, hey, this is my crazy plan. Didn't know Stephen at all, and he was gracious enough to say that he's going to give me some help learning how to be doing better mobility exercises, stretching, and all those sorts of things. So Stephen came on board back then to help me out. And I started learning how inflexible and how my lack of range of motion and all those things. So that was pretty interesting as well. So I started working on that, and then I started doing core, and I started doing strength and weight exercises as well. So I started putting the whole thing in to the gambit. And then I sat down with my beautiful wife one day and I said, listen, I can stay here training in Mexico every day, and we can keep doing this, and I can get bored by running around the same streets and the same places and the same heat every day. Or we can go off and we can do some challenges across the world as part of my training process. So that's where the whole idea of me going off to the UK to try and run from Land's End to John O'Groats, a run of 1,000 miles. I planned the route myself. And we decided that this was going to be an adventure for us where we could go together, have a kind of a holiday, and go and explore a couple of other countries, see some beautiful scenery, and I could do a lot of running, which was going to aid my training process. So we started, thinking about that idea and how we could put that idea together kind of towards the end of last year. And then heading into Christmas, I was feeling really good. I'd been training really well. I'd lost a lot of weight. And then I got COVID over the Christmas period. So in the beginning of December, I got COVID. And I got COVID really, really bad. In fact, Louisa came home one day from being out and found me on the kitchen floor in a semi-unconscious state. I was so wiped out with COVID. And that was pretty rough for a while there. Yeah, that's what happened. So it wasn't until January that I was able to start running, or end of December actually last year I started running again. So I had 3 weeks off basically with COVID. But surprisingly, when I came back, I didn't take long to get back into fitness again, and I picked it up pretty easily in the beginning of this year, 2023. So this year started off well, and we really then started towards the end of January, we started putting the definitive ideas together and plan around going to do this run through the UK. And we did that with a couple of people. We put some ideas around how I was going to do that and what I was going to support along the way. I wanted to be involved in supporting mental health. And the rest of the time, January, February, March, it was about building up to do that run. So my running became really, really good. I started getting super fit. I was able to knock out 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour, 5 hour runs in the heat of Cancun, which was pretty impressive as far as I was concerned. I started to feel like I never have before in my life. I was feeling super fit again, and considering my age, I really started to get mental strength from that, because I started to think, look, all those things that I've learnt over the years, I can now put into practice in my running, and I can use my mental strength as my weapon. So, when a lot of young people get tired and lazy in a run, they tend to give up or start walking. I was going to use all my experience of running marathons and doing Ironman triathlons and all those things over the years, playing tennis, to focus on what my goal was. And it was also around that time that I got on board a resilience coach, and John Watkins came on board from a company called Resilience Development Co. in the UK. And I went through a 10-week course of resilience training. And I found that to be really, really fantastic. So it taught me a lot of skills around how to deal with situations when things get tough, but also how to create an environment in everyday life where you are mentally dialed into a positive attitude and positive mindset. So that was really, really good for me. I put a lot of those skills that I learned into practice in my training, and it really, really helped me a lot. So I felt as though I was going from as John says, from good to great. And that's a benchmark that I want to keep continuing to set. So yeah, that was really good doing that course. And John's become a friend and a mate, and we stay in contact now, and he's helping me all the way through to my goal of becoming a world champion. So another benefit of doing something like this is you meet great people along the way and develop good relationships. So that's something that's happened over the course of the last year. So we headed into the UK run, and just before we left, about a month before I left, I got injured. I got some tendinitis in my right leg, and that got pretty bad a couple of days. So we went to see a physio, and Victor, shout out to you, mate. And after getting an ultrasound, we went to see Victor, and Victor started helping me get back on track again. He gave me a very painful needle process, dry needling. I don't know if you've ever had that. If you haven't, be careful, it's very painful. But Victor got me back on track, and before we headed off to the UK in the beginning of May, I was feeling pretty good and pretty confident that I could do this run no problem at all. So we headed over to the UK at the beginning of May, as I said, of this year. And I was super excited about this. I've been doing a lot of research about the Land's End to John O'Groats. From the information we found out that no New Zealander had ever run this run before. So I was hoping to be the first Kiwi to do this run. And we planned out that it was going to take me 70 days to run from the bottom of England to the top of Scotland, and do that via Wales. So a lot of people do this run from Land's End to John O'Groats up through the middle of England. Not many people take a detour, if you like, across to Wales and up through Wales. So I decided to design my own route, and I'm pleased that I did, because I ended up seeing so many amazing parts of the southwest coast of England, up through North Devon and Somerset, across into Wales, and up through Wales as well. So we got to England, and of course the first thing that I was excited about was the cooler weather. So it was really cool compared to what we'd been putting up with here in Cancun. So I knew that from a running point of view that it was going to be really, really special for me, because going from running in 30 to 35 degrees Celsius to 20 and below, it was going to have a big impact on my running. So I was excited about that. Louisa was excited about going to the UK, getting out of Mexico. She loves traveling. And yeah, we were just really excited about doing this whole experience. So we got over there, we started the run, and it was a terrible day the first day. It was raining, it was cold. It was 7 o'clock in the morning, and her and I were down at Land's End. There was no one else there. And the day before we'd been there, and it had been spectacularly blue sky and lovely and sunny and lots of tourists and everything. And then we got there on this Monday that I started running, which was May the 8th. I'll never forget that. And away I went. I started this incredible journey of running every single day without a rest day, and trying to run up through from Land's End to John O'Groats. So yeah, we started off, and this became a really difficult project for a variety of reasons that I'm not going to go into. But first of all, just trying to run every day, finding somewhere to stay, and getting up again and doing it again the next day. It was difficult from a logistics point of view. I really enjoyed the running part of it. I felt stronger and stronger every day. And some of my concerns that I had before I left Mexico to go and do that trip was, I thought that I was going to have a lot of trouble running the hills in the UK, because here in Cancun we don't have any hills. So in fact, the nearest hill from where we live is about 400 miles away. Can you believe that? The Yucatan Peninsula where we live is just dead flat, and we have to go all the way down towards the Belize border to find any kind of hills in this part of Mexico. So I hadn't done any hill training at all, but I had focused a lot on my tempo work, doing a lot of long runs where I had a lot of strength, and I was hoping that that was going to benefit me when it came to running up the hills across southern England and up into Wales. And that was the case. I just felt absolutely fantastic running the hills. I was a lot stronger than I thought I was going to be, and I only ended up walking 1% of some of those hills. The rest of it I ran up every hill. So I was really, really inspired by my own athletic performance as I was going. So long story short, we got into 28 days of that. And just before that, about 3 or 4 days before that, I started having problems. I did a stupid thing one day. I was running down off a really big set of mountain hill ranges, and it was a beautiful 6-kilometer downhill stretch to the finish that day, and I just put my pedal to the metal and I ran too fast down the hill, and that caused some shin splints and some problems in my right leg. So that was the first thing. And then secondly, I had done some damage on my left foot. I thought I'd stress fractured my left foot, and I had decided to keep running. So for the next 3 days I kept running with both of those problems getting worse. And on day 28 out of the 68 that we were going to do, it had gone down to 68 from 70, I decided that I was going to pull the pin, because we went to hospital. I got some x-rays done, I got some MRI done, and the verdict wasn't very good. So the doctor at the Royal Shrewsbury Hospital in England told me to pack it in. The run was over. I wasn't going to be able to make it to the end. My injuries needed to recover, otherwise I was going to end up with big problems. So I didn't want to risk long-term damage. I didn't want to risk not being able to chase after my goal, which is to become a world champion ultra distance athlete. So we made the decision to stop. I'd run about 450 miles at that stage, so about 700 odd kilometers. And despite the injuries, I was feeling fantastic. I had no doubt at all that I was going to make it to John O'Groats in Scotland. It just wasn't to be on this occasion. So we decided to change our flights, get out of the UK, which we were finding extremely expensive on everything. So we decided that we didn't want to spend too much time and more money there, and it was best to come home to Mexico to recover and to get on to the next chapter. So in early June, just over a month ago now, almost a month to the day, we came back to Mexico. And I ended up on crutches, and I've been hobbling around ever since trying to get my injuries right. Now the news update on those is good news. I've got rid of the shin splints, that's all gone, and I'm feeling really good in that leg. I'm still now just protecting my left foot, so I'm on crutches to keep the weight off that until I get the repaired process done there. And within the next few days, I hope to be off the crutches and just walking normally again. And then we'll worry about putting a shoe on and seeing if I can get walk. So I'm back into the rehabilitation process, trying to get myself going again. Up until 2 days ago, I was swimming every day and took on my own little swimming challenge that I created because that's the way I wanted to stay fit. And unfortunately, I ended up getting a bacterial infection in my ears. So I went to the doctor again and spending a lot of time at doctors recently. And the doctor said, don't get into a swimming pool for a while, so let this clear up. So I've got some antibiotics. I'm fixing the ear issue at the moment, the infection, and then I'll get back to exercising again. So yeah, July 2022 is when I started becoming a full-time athlete. Now during that time, I also have been playing around and experimenting with my diet. I've made a few videos about this. I went full-on carnivore. I had some problems with that. If you wanted to check the videos out, you can on this channel. And what happened to me there, I'll put the link in the description of this video so you can check those out. But yeah, I heard a lot of good things about carnivore. I tried it. There were some huge benefits for me. I really started to feel a lot of clarity in mind. I got rid of all those sugar fixes and urges. And yeah, I was feeling really, really good until we went to the doctor and got a blood test to see how things were going. And unfortunately, I found out that I had some kind of kidney issue going on. Now, we don't know if this was caused by carnivore. It probably wasn't. It was probably something that was existing, pre-existing situation. So I decided to stop the carnivore diet at that stage. And yeah, I just went back to introducing some carbs into my diet. So not full-on carbs at that stage. I went just to eating a lot of meat still, but introducing more carbs. So I have been experimenting around with my diet. I'm still experimenting because I want to find the right balance between getting the fuel I need. I've been doing a lot of research on fat adapted runners, ultra runners. There's a lot of incredibly exciting stuff going on in that space. There's a lot of debate going on, vegans, carnivores, vegetarian, whatever you want to call it, right? We put labels on everything, but I'm just eating the way that I feel is best for me. And I know pretty quickly whether or not, I'm sleeping well, whether I'm got energy, whether I'm feeling lazy in the afternoons. It's all about what you put into your body. So that journey is a continuous one for me. And before I get back into full-on training again, I'm going to hope to have that sorted out a little bit more because I'm still not there yet. So yeah, that's been a really great part of the journey for this last year, has been the whole eating, diet, nutrition, researching, getting information, talking to people, connecting with ultra distance runners, because a lot of people don't know this world, don't know the world of ultra distance running. They just think it's like, oh yeah, you go out for a run. Well, no, it's a lot more than that. And that's one of the things that I found in general actually is that, when you say that you've become a full-time athlete at the age of 57 or 58, as I am now, people kind of boo-hoo it a bit because they think, well, what are you trying to prove, right? Well, I'm trying to prove something to myself. I don't care about anybody else. I'm just trying to prove that I can do the things that I set out to do, no matter what my age is. That's why this channel is called Age is No Barrier. And I believe that a lot of people get into this stage of life where I am now, and they basically give up. They start thinking because they're getting older they can't do things. They might have a couple of sore knees or a sore hip, and they think that's it. They can't do what they used to do. Well, I'm not that guy, and I'm out there, I guess, proving in some way, even though I'm injured at the moment, that I can be super fit, and I can be super fast, and I can be super good at what I'm taking on. So yeah, this is a goal that I want to prove to myself, above and beyond anything else. So I know that I can become a world champion. I know that I have that in me physically and mentally and spiritually, which is also an important part of the whole journey. And I'm just going to do everything I can. And I guess that's where the next part of this chapter goes to now, is what happens next. Well, we've come back from the UK. I've put in a good 700 kilometres of training. I'm going to get myself back and fit again. So we're looking probably at the next few months of this year. So this year's pretty much gone as far as what I can achieve, I think. But before the end of the year, I'm going to put myself into a couple of races. I'll probably do a marathon or a 50-kilometre race, ultra race, and test myself out a bit. I want to see how well I can do in my age group. So if I do well in my age group, I'm suspecting I'm going to do pretty well overall, because some of the people around my age are very, very good runners, and they're achieving amazing things. So I want to be able to show what one can do if they put in the hard work. And that's what it is. It's hard work. Being a full-time athlete, you're focused on your body, your conditioning, your sleep process, your recovery, your mental attitude is so important, like everything else in life. Doesn't matter whether you're a runner or not, your mental attitude is everything. So you're responsible for getting yourself up every day and being accountable and being consistent with your training. So those days where you go, I don't feel like going and doing any training today, you've got to put that out of your mind. You've got to focus on the goal, and away you go. And I do that pretty good. I've really dialed into my training over the last year. So all the things that I've been taught, as well as the things I've learnt online, I've been able to put those into a package that works for me. And I'm getting some really, really good results from that. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to go down a continuous learning. In fact, I've got a call tomorrow with someone that's going to help me go to the next level, hopefully. And I'm slowly building a team around me that are really focused on helping me achieve my goal, which is also a good feeling, because then you're not doing it totally in isolation. So having other people to talk to, of course, Louisa's fantastic, and she does more than enough to help me and support me. And we're a great team when it comes to that. And she's playing an important part in this whole process as well, because she's going to be my crew member in my ultra races. So she's going to be out there making sure that when I get to the aid stations and the feeding zones, that she's going to have the right things for me. She's going to know how I feel and what I'm going to need. And that's a really important part of the process. In fact, the people that support these ultra runners are just as special, I think, because they provide a lot of mental and social support during the race. So yeah, that's an exciting part of it for us both. It's helping us communicate better in our relationship. It's helping us, just have a lot more excitement in our relationship, because we're heading towards a goal together, which is really cool. So that part of it's been really fantastic. And what downsides have there been? Well, I'd say the injury part is a downside. It's always frustrating when you're injured as an athlete, but you've got to expect that when you're putting your body through extreme distances and you're running a lot like I was. I learned a lot from running in the UK. When I pushed a bit harder, that's when I started having problems. So consistency around pace, and just pulling it back a little bit, not taking the opportunity when it's there to go super hard, pushing it back a little bit, or pulling it back a little bit, I should say, is the way that I should have gone. So yeah, that was a good lesson, and I don't get down on myself or hard about that at all. It was just part of the process for me. So that was really, really good. So looking forward, going to do an ultra race between now and the end of 2023. Hopefully that's going to be a qualifier race for the UTMB race. If it's not, it'll be just a good knockout for me in a test. And then going into next year, it's when we get serious about everything. So I'm going to do a few races, qualifying races for my goal, which is the UTMB race in France, in Chamonix. and that will be either 100k or 100-mile races. So it's 171 kilometers in a day. So those will be the hit-outs that I'll be doing and focused on training for next year. There's not going to be any more running through countries for now because I want to focus on this goal. I want to be very tunnel vision on where I'm going and how I'm going about this. And then after we've done or I've become a world champion, which is my goal, then we'll look at doing some more runs through different countries across the world. But that's for a later date. So yeah, that's where I'm at after 1 year of being a full-time athlete. I don't regret anything that I've done in the past year. I've learnt a lot about myself. I've learnt that I'm actually more capable than I thought I was. I can get my body and my fitness level to a fairly high standard, and I'm really hungry to get back out there, to get training again and to get into it despite the terrible heat in Cancun. But I see that as a secret weapon as well, because if I can train well here and look after myself, then I'm able to perform in all sorts of other climates around the world. So I'm using my situation here in Cancun as a bit of a secret weapon, so don't tell anybody. So yeah, there we are. I just thought I'd make a video about 1 year into this. A lot of people my age are not doing this sort of thing and they think it's crazy. A lot of people my age are still working in the corporate world, which I used to do, and I've got to say I'm way happier than I've ever been in my life chasing a goal that I want to do, and I'm seriously focused on it. So if you want to keep watching my journey, I'm going to keep putting out videos. Hopefully when I start running and stuff again soon, there'll be much more exciting content. I'll show you around Cancun a little bit more, and also other places that we go to do races. So hit the little subscribe button, and there's that little bell notification. If you hit that as well, you'll be notified every time I drop a video on this channel. So before I go, I want to shout out to all the people that are supporting me, because as I said, there's a great group. Stephen over there in Scotland, John, Resilience Development Company, he's living in Jersey in the UK, on the wonderful island of Jersey. I've got a couple of Patreons that are helping me out. If you want to help me out through the Patreon program, you can have a look at the description of that in the link below, the link in the description below of this video, and you can find out what that's all about. And just my inner circle, those people that send me messages every day to say hi and how's it going and all the rest of it, and giving me support. I really appreciate it, because those things, especially in times like this when I'm injured, they mean a lot, and they help you get up again and get back out there. So I'm going to be out there again soon, not too far away, hopefully. We start walking first, and then we'll get some jogging done, and then we'll get back into the running seriously again. And I'll see you again soon in another video. Until then, stay safe and stay well, everyone. Cheers for now.
I look at you, you make me blind. Why do you have to be so beautiful all the time? I know I can't